Hey peeps, Thiril here. This is my write-up for book, a pretty medium Linux machine on HackTheBox created by Mr. Reboot. And as you can see, HackTheBox is redesigning it. Actually, it's in beta, but it looks really pretty. So anyways, we can do nmap on it. Doing tech A for full port scan. I've already done it. And we can see there is port 80 and port 22 SSH open. Port 80 has HTTP Apache server running on it. And I should say that I have book.htp in my host entry. So I can now just go to book.htp and we get a sign in and login page. We can try admin, but admin is not a valid email, so it doesn't let us, as we can see. So anyways, we create an account by any email, any name, and any password, and we get to see the site. We log in as that account and we can see it is a website for a library. We can do like settings and see our profile information. We have the role of user and we can even change the name. Changing it to admin won't do anything, so I won't do it. And there is some stuff that is not implemented yet, but the thing is, if we go to the book section, we see a bunch of books and it will be useful later. If we go to collection, we can see that we can submit some books using the book title and author and browsing a PDF. There is also another thing called contact us, in which we can send an email to admin@book.htb. We can try some XSS payload, but it's not going to work. We also see the admin username from that. So my first time trying the box, I tried to do the cookies payload for XSS, cookie stealing, which you can search up for Google. And basically what we do is try to load an image whose link would be pointing to our local machine, and it will also provide us the cookies that the admin is using, which we can see the payload right over here. So I tried that, but it didn't work because we will see later the XSS doesn't get executed on the admin's, you can say, message board. So I tried like the Python server, but it didn't receive any kind of request. So as it turns out, actually what we have to do is using SQL truncation attack, we will have to log in as admin. So let's try and create an account using that admin email address we just saw. And in doing so, it tells us that the user exists. So we'll have to intercept and change the request for the SQL truncation attack. And I'll be using burp for that. After the burp starts, you go to proxy, and before doing anything, let me show you the source of the page. And we do see there is an error indicating that there are only 20 characters available for email. So we can say that the SQL database only has 20 characters defined for the email column. So using that, we can use SQL truncation attack. We just create an account and burp will intercept it. Now all we have to do is just add some spaces to the email and add any character at the last so that it doesn't just ignore the spaces. While the SQL database has only 20 characters available, so it will remove the last character and some spaces. And finally, our password will be set for the admin@book.htb account. As we can see, we successfully log in as admin. So after some enumeration, we will find an admin directory, which is the only directory, so I want to open Deerbuster for it. And if we try and sign in using our password, let's see, it fails. So we just do the request again and change our password to whatever we want. And we are able to get in. So in the admin panel, we see there are some more options, including seeing the users logged in and the messages. And you can see someone already tried that XSS payload, but it didn't work. The thing is, we can also see a PDF containing all the books that are currently available on the website. Let me just save it first, and then we can open it. After opening it, we do see this is the list of the books currently present on the website. And if you remember, we can also submit one. And using that, we will be able to do some accesses which will reflect the file that we want in this PDF. So anyways, let me sign in again as the user, and let's try and submit a book. Let me just use that PDF we just downloaded as the book's PDF and just anything in the book title and author. After getting the confirmation, we do see that our book is reflected in this PDF. So this PDF is generated in real time whenever we request it. As you can see, someone else also did that, but we have our book's author and the book title name along with a link, but it won't be that useful. So now we can search for LFI using XSS in PDF or stored XSS reflected in PDF, something like that, until we come across this website which has the exact same exploit that we can use. So this website is actually a blog written by someone who participated in a bug bounty and found that a billing website had the same thing that we have. It actually printed the PDF in real time based on which file we wanted. So using this exploit, he was able to get any file that he wanted, including the etc password file, basically any file that the server running can have access to. So you do the same thing here. Let's first try and get the same thing that he got, the etc password. Let's see if we can get that file. So I used the book title and anything as author using the same PDF. We uploaded it. After seeing confirmation, we open the collection PDF file. On opening the PDF file, we do see that the etc password file we did got. We also see there is one user reader and looks like he is the one using this server, running the server. And we also have his home directory. So let's try and access if there is anything there. We also saw that SSH is open, so there might be some kind of SSH keys, which in this case is there. The SSH private key, which we can use to log in via SSH in the machine. Upon uploading, we again get the collection PDF, and let's say this time did we get the private key. We have the etc password file, and again we have the private key. Now in this default reader on Parrot, you can see there are some characters cut after the last line, so I'll be using, actually Chrome is far better at reading and copying those characters than any PDF reader I found. So let's just open Chrome. First, let's confirm we have the PDF on our folder. So let me just open Chrome, and then using file, we can just access any file. And we do see our PDF. Let's copy and paste it. And you can see it perfectly copies it without cutting any kind of characters at the end. So let's chmod it first because SSH would like to lock it in while it is using that. And then we can just SSH into the box using this key as the reader user. Once we get in, we list the files, and we do see our user flag there, so we can just get it. Next thing we see, there is a backups directory. Let's see what does it contain. We see some access logs, so it might point towards the log rotate exploit, log rotan, which is what we are going to use in this one. Anyways, let's first try linpiece. What does it give us? So after quite a while, linpiece tells us that there is a writable logs directory, which we just saw, and we can use logrotan to exploit it if logrotate is running as root, which is the case in this one. So while it is loading, let me just show you some Easter egg, you can say. I like to do this on every box I do. So let's go to the web server. Let's see if we can access the MySQL database it uses. So there is a db.php which might contain the credentials for MySQL, and the password is I hate book reading, and the user MySQL uses is bookadmin. So let's log into MySQL. Let's see what do we have there. Upon seeing the databases, we do see a book database. So let's see what tables does it have. First, we do use book for using that database, and we can see the tables. We are interested in the users table, which is, I mean, I want to see the admin password. What was it actually? We do select star from the users and we do see everyone's password. The admin password was super secret pass. Really cool. They didn't even hash the password, so we can just see it in plain text. Anyways, we just get back to our home directory and let's save these what does this site tells us. So the log rotate can actually do a race condition and put any of the files in hc completion.t which gets executed every time a user logs in. So let's check out the GitHub and there is some explanation on what to do for the exploit. It tells us that if create option is enabled in logrotate.cfg, we have to do a different syntax, and if compress is enabled, will have to do a different one. So let's check out that configuration file. Let's see what do we have in our box. So I can just use locate logrotate.cfg, but that doesn't return anything. So I just check in hc folder and we do see one logrotate.conf. So it's actually .conf instead of .cfg. Anyways, we read it and we do see create is enabled as compress is commented out. So basically we will have to use this create one. I think the only difference it has is that if compress was enabled, we'll have to compress our payload file in order for it to read it properly. So for getting this code, I will just do row and then wget that web page. After getting that logroton.c file, we can just remove those old PDFs. We don't need them anymore. Let's see what does this C file contain. We have the exploit and above it, we do see some comments which are the same things from the GitHub. And it tells us that log rotate if executed as root, we can basically write our payload script to any directory we want. So now I just start a Python server on my machine and I will use wget on book in order to get this logrotate.c on that machine. Let me just check my IP and starting the server on the machine, I will just do wget. First, let's go to the temp directory and wget, then my IP, the port, and logrotate.c. Actually, it's logroton.c. So we successfully get the file. And let's see if we have any kind of special compilation instructions on this .c file. So once again, let's read it. And we do see it's just simple compilation using GCC compiler. And let's just do it. GCC, then the C file and take O for output. And we just write it to a log binary. Upon executing it, it tells us that it does need a tag-t argument for target directory, which should be the home directory because it contains the backup folder, and the payload file, which I will just write right now. Sorry for the jump cut. Someone reset the machine and it was a really bad mess. I had to do everything again. Anyways, let me just show you the .sh script that I made. It's just simple. It just prints the root flag into a file in our home directory, which we can read later. We could have just done a reverse shell, but it closes in 5 seconds, so it will be really mess. Instead, we can just do this and then remove the file after we read it. Anyways, let's just execute the binary tag p for the payload script and tag t for the target directory where the backups directory is, which is the home directory for our user, and then specify a log file which will be modified and accessed by the log rotate binary. So let's do that. On our shell, I will just log in again and modify that access.log file so that the log rotate will try and access that log while the log roton will actually have a rest condition. So we just modify it, just do anything with it, and we do see log roton wrote its payload in the best completion.t, and now if we log in again, it should be executed as root, of course, because log rotate is running as root. To see our node flag file, and it has the root flag. So let me just explain everything again. What does this logroton do actually? So all we did was write a script file spam.sh containing the command that is that to read the root.txt flag and write it to a file on our user's directory. So when logrotate tries to access that access.log file, when we modify it, actually logroton does is creates a fake backup directory and writes our payload to it, and logrotate just writes our script to etc bash completion.t, which is executed every time a user logs in. So this is a race condition in which the symlink is created to the folder containing the backup, and that new folder contains our malicious script, which is again executed. Also, we can choose another directory else than at c bash compilation.t, but again, all we can do is basically just log in as any user via SSH, so that is the most feasible thing to do. And also, I should remove that flag file because I don't want to leave any of the files. And let's say it should be in our home directory. It is. Just remove it. So, anyways, see you all later.